everyone, my name is Hannah. I go by Microbiologist Makes here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram. This is my Flosstube channel where I talk about hobbies related to cross stitch, knitting, crochet, and thrifting. This is episode number 16. Welcome or welcome back if you're joining for the first time. Today is May 1st. That is only the second time I've had to remind myself it's a new month, it's not April anymore. And I have some new projects to talk about, some exciting plans for May, as well as just talking about what I've been up to lately. So I have my notes. Let's get started. So I'm proclaiming what has been the last month of April as Artsy Housewife April. That's been my theme, certainly. It was my birthday month also, so I started a couple Artsy Housewife patterns and I joined Gigi's Patreon. So there's more patterns by her that I would like to start soon. So that's the overall theme that or the vibe that we're going for this month, stitching wise. I would say that my stitching has been on the lighter side lately. I've gotten back into reading, strangely enough. I was a big reader as a kid, and I sort of, like, once reading became more of a job, like for school and, you know, research-wise, I haven't really delved back into reading for enjoyment, but over the last month, I would say I've been reading a lot, so that cut into the stitching time. Unfortunately, I've been reading physical books, not audiobooks as much, but so that's been happening. I've also been wanting to knit all the things, so there will be a sizable knitting segment this time as well. But okay, starting with cross stitch things, because that's what the majority of you are here for. Let's start with the start. So, like I mentioned, it's my birthday month. I treated myself to a new project bag. This is by Stonehouse Stitching on Etsy. Her name is Rebecca. And excellent craftsmanship. I got an email, like a personal email, when it was shipped, which was like the next day. The shipping was super fast, a really reasonable price for such a huge project bag. So I would go check out her store. She has other quilting, like panel insert type bags, not vinyl front that I was aware of. But this houses all of my Artsy Housewife new starts. So our first is A Study in Nature, which I had talked about. Both of these I had mentioned in plans last time. This is A Study in Nature by the Artsy Housewife. I'm using all the called for dinky dyes. This is my first time using dinky dyes and I'm spoiled for them now. They're so soft. I like never get knots. If only it was in the budget to use them for everything. I'm stitching this on a 36 count pearwood. I ended up doing one thread over 2 linen threads. And I have a decent portion of that side of the wing done. And I have the little flower, main body of the butterfly / moth. I feel like I should know which it is so someone can tell me if they know. But regardless, it's so pretty. I love this fabric. It shows up red in some lights and also has like a purple undertone sort of, but it's also brown. I don't know, it's like magic. So I love this one. It's in Pattern Keeper, or not in Pattern Keeper. I actually printed this out and I'm highlighting the old school way and I love it. So I started that while watching Jurassic Park on my birthday, and it was a good time. So the next one is Geraldine's Flowers, and I'm stitching this, talking a little too fast, on This is, I Know It's a Bee Stitch Me. I think it's Cinnamon. Yes, Cinnamon by Bee Stitch Me, 40 count. This was from when I was in the Fabric of the Month Club for about a half a year or so. And I got a decent amount of the flowers done. Started on the border, but I couldn't resist getting into the flowers first. I want to save the bear for last because that looks like the most fun. And isn't the modeling on this fabric like crazy cool? So I'll zoom in one more time. I think I only have like 2 flowers left and then like 2 big flowers left. And then there's a little fill in of smaller flowers in between that. So that's fun. I had some of the called for over dyes, but then the rest I color matched to the called for DMC and used color and cottons. So like I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different color and cottons. So I didn't have all of the called fors, but I had Ribbon Red, I had Aztec Red by Weeks, I had Sarsaparilla by the Gentle Art. So, but the idea is the same, and I think it will end up looking pretty similar to the model. So then my last new start is Painted Flowers by Shakespeare's Peddler. I am starting this on, I started this on, I think last time I said it was called Midnight by Picture This Plus. It's actually Shadow, but Midnight would also be an appropriate name because it is super dark. This is who I'm channeling while I'm stitching on this fabric. It's 40 count, and yeah, I'm definitely like, oh, where is, yeah. I have to have really good lighting. I have to have something white across my, underneath the stitching, and yeah, I managed to finish the first flower though. We pushed through, and it really does pop super well off this fabric. So there are 5 main flowers in this pattern. I hope to do 1 a month and have it done this year. I think that'd be a reasonable goal. I am struggling with the DMCs for this because I thought I had all the called for DMCs, and then I was actually missing 2, but I only picked up 1 when I went to Joann. So I have 3822 that I need to fill in. I'm sure it's somewhere in a project, but I don't have my hands on it at the moment. So there's like 10 or so stitches, I think, in this little motif that I need to fill in with 3822, and then the first flower will be done. Hoping to get the next, I think it's a tulip, done in May. So that one's really enjoyable. I'm not working on Pattern Keeper with it. It's just, have the PDF and I printed it off, and I will say there's like 5 colors of red in that first, in the petals, and that was a struggle to get through. That kind of, it's not confetti, but it is like not in a logical pattern like the stitches. It's sort of just like sprayed across the petals, so it's not like something you can memorize. But once I got through like the petals, it was the flower stem and the little buds, I don't know, were pretty easy to accomplish. So those are my new starts, and I think we're going to continue on the new start train in May. So I'll talk more about that in plans. As for whips, I have 2. I pulled out, I almost forgot I did this. I pulled out a super old whip. This is Shepherd's Song. I'll just pop in a picture because I don't want to take it out of the plastic. Shepherd's Song by Plum Street Samplers. I started this in like 2020. And I put in a couple of the words, a tree, and a little butterfly at like right after I last filmed. And it was just like a day's amount of work. And I almost forgot to show you this time because I just completely skipped my mind that I touched this. But yeah, I think I got the word follow done, and then this little butterfly and that tree. I'm stitching this on a 36 count Tropical Stitches fabric. I want to say it's Gabriella or Gabrielle. I can't remember. But it's really nice to work on. It's a tighter 36, I would say, so my coverage is looking pretty good. I made a couple alterations. I think I mention this every time I talk about this project, but I changed, so I just continued that verse down here. Instead of saying, this was supposed to say wrought by and then your name, I just continued like that sort of paraphrased Bible verse. And I'm leaving out the dog. I think there was a dog by that tree. I'm not gonna put that dog in. And next, I'd like to start on the house. I have a chimney. I was kind of planning out where I would go next, and I think my plan was to start with the house, so to conquer that huge black house. So I don't know when I'm gonna pull this out again. It's one of those projects that I don't mind working on it. I'm not as passionate about it anymore as I was when I first started it, but I'm like far enough that I don't want to give up on it. So my last whip to talk about is the Walk Fast sampler by Lindy Stitches. It's a Golden Girls themed sampler. It's still in the Q-snap. I touched it last night. And it says, it's like that old Scandinavian saying, you can lead a herring to water, but you'll have to walk real fast or he'll die. Thanks, Rose. So I'm stitching this on Vanilla Latte 40 count by Be Stitch Me with all the called for overdyes. I think they're all classic color works. This time I added this leash that'll hold the herring is right here. And I did some more border. Sorry if you can hear a lawnmower. The apartment complex next door is deciding that now is a good time to mow because we're supposed to have severe thunderstorms in like 10 minutes. So then I continued this, I don't know, motif. I added in this squirrel bird. I'm not sure what it is. Velociraptor bird, and started outlining this butterfly. So I try to do a little bit of like the bulk of the sampler and then do some of this border because I get tired of doing the border. So I had a goal in April. I'm not sure I mentioned this, but I was gonna do a third of it across March, April, and May. So I was supposed to finish this in May. I'm at like 41%, so I did not get to 66% in April. Hopefully we can get a little bit past halfway in May. I just like to have it done. And it has a companion piece with another Rose and Island quote sampler, so I want to start that. And that's like on a darker fabric. So I want to order another really cool Be Stitch Me dark fabric and start it on that. So yeah, plans. Speaking of plans, today being the first day of May, I'd like to participate in Manning May. It's hosted by the Museum Stitcher, Canvas Stitcher, Marjorie Maid, you know, their little friend group. So I want to start Loose Leaf Tea by Carolyn Manning. This person is doing wheelies in the parking lot on his riding lawnmower. Distracting. Okay, I want to start Loose Leaf Tea by Carolyn Manning. I have a 28 piece of 28 count even weave that I'd like to do that on. It's just from Michael's, and I'd like to do them separately and then get mini frames because I want to do this over one on 28 count. So that's the plan. I'm going to start that tonight, hopefully. And then I had planned to start the Fungi book sale by Living on the Rainbow. I'll put in a picture. I have the supplies, like kit with the fabric, and then all I need to provide is the DMCs. And I also have the embellishment pack that you can buy at Etsy. So I think the first part drops on Friday, May 3rd. I'll be starting that. And I know for sure Amy Loves Toes is starting that as well. I watched her most recent Flosstube, and she's also declaring May to be Mushroom May, which I can totally get behind. So I'm also thinking about starting at least one other mushroom-related project this month and joining in with her. I have one that's been on my to be started list for a few months now, but maybe something new will join the mix too. I don't know. So that's the plan. Mushroom May and Manning May. Let's talk then about haul, and then we'll segue into yarn related items. In terms of haul, I showed you the project bag. The only other thing I got this month, trying to cut back a little, is it was local yarn store day this past weekend, and my yarn store was doing exclusive colorways from Emma's Yarn. And so I got this finger and weight yarn set, and they had like a link to all these pattern bundle by Emma's Yarn on Ravelry, where you could all these 2 skein fingering weight shawl projects, and I like all of them, so I'm gonna have a hard decision choosing, but I'll make a shawl out of this, I think. So the 2 colors are, this is Kale and this is Glamping, which is pink, and it has little bits of speckled green in it to go with the kale, and it's really cute. So that's it for haul. not super exciting. Then in terms of knitting and crochet. Okay, so I've been going hard on the knitting. First up, we have, I showed you that this is the only whip you've seen before. I think everything else I started this past month and you haven't seen it yet. This is the Chessie sweater by Donna Estin. I'm knitting this in Cascade 220, the color Iridescence. And I've officially joined the body. It's a drop shoulder, so that's why it looks so wide here, because it's going to take up like half the sleeve. I've tried it on. I think I have a picture of me standing in front of that mirror. So not the best quality. I think I was in my leggings and oversized sweatshirt. But we have that. And I'm almost at the part where I get to do the cabled bottom. I just have to do a couple more rows, and then I get to do the cable and they're mowing again. And then I get to do the sleeves, which I'm super excited about. And I have to pick up stitches to do the neckline, and then we're done. I'm excited. And then I was at Joann's, and they had this yarn. It's acrylic, but it's by Big Twist. They're yarn based, and it's called Carousel, and it's like all my colors. It's like a peachy brown, a gray, cream. It's almost like homespun, but it's not. I don't know, it's just thick, and it says it's a worsted weight, but it's more like an airing weight. And I found this sweater pattern by Ozetta called the Lodge sweater, and someone on Instagram had done it in a variegated yarn like that, and it looked really cool, or highly variegated yarn, I should say. So it had a nice striping pattern. So I started on the ribbing for that. So I have a couple, I think half an inch to go on this ribbing, and then it's like a split hem. So it's bottom up construction, and I'm getting ready to, I think, start a little bit of shaping, and then you make the hem for the back, join them, and then I can cruise on up through the sweater. So that was my other impromptu sweater start. I don't know. I was just feeling a new sweater cast on that day, I guess. And then I finally I had to order some, I tried doing like the magic loop method for socks before, and it's not my favorite. So I ordered some Chowgu circulars, and 9-inch circulars, and I'm liking that a lot better. And I started this sock pattern by, let's see, Northwoods Knit Co. called the Stardust socks. And she has cuff down and toe up constructions. I'm doing cuff down. Here's where I am in 2 days. I was super inspired to start it, and was really feeling that color work. Like, I don't know, there's something, it's so addicting to just, I think there was 32 rows of the color work, and I was like, oh, I'll get to halfway and then stop and pick it up tomorrow. And I did the whole color work section in one day because it was so much fun. I had the gray color yarn is a hand dyed from a local yarn store in my hometown in Minnesota. It's called Driftwood, and it is by Palmer Yarn Company. And I had that left over from a color work cowl I had done earlier this year, I don't know, time has no meaning anymore. And then the darkish bluish purple is a Malabrigo sock base, and the color is eggplant. That's pretty accurate. So the pattern has bobble stitches that you can do just on the top of the foot, and then you're supposed to, or at least the model has like, there's an option for color work on the leg and the toe. And most of the projects I saw in Ravelry either had one or the other. But I decided I'm not going to do the bobble stitches. I'm going to do the color work pattern here and then continue the color work on the toe. So I really hope you can't hear the people mowing. I'm very sorry. And yeah, so that's my first sock, and I have since pinned about 20 different sock patterns on Pinterest and saved some to Ravelry. So I'm thinking I want to do at least a pair of socks a month for the rest of the year. I don't know. I have a lot of fingering weight yarn and a lot of desire to knit socks right now, so that's happening. Then my one and only crochet project this past month has been the Livy throw, which is it's also a new start, by Meghan Makes Do. And I really love this pattern. I was drawn to it, one, because the yarn is like my favorite shade of green. It's the Lion Brand anti-slip, or anti-pill. I don't know why I said slip. I think I have the label somewhere, but who knows. It's anti-slip, why do I keep saying slip? Anti-pill by Lion Brand. And I don't know, it's just a pretty color. I think it's called Olive, in the color Olive. And the pattern is really cool in that it looks like those like crochet thread blankets that you see a lot in antique stores, where it's sort of like a rosette pattern, and it's just on a bigger scale. So you make a ton of these triangles, and then I think 66, and then you make a bunch of hexagons, 22, and join them together. So it'll be a lot of seaming, but I think we're at like 14 of these. So I started this just a few days ago, so these go really fast, like probably 8 minutes per triangle. So I'm having fun with that. It's my new blanket, hyper fixation. Who knows when I'll get back to my other granny square blanket. I don't know at this point. But that's all I have in terms of knitting and crochet. Next up on the agenda is thrifting. I scored pretty big over the last month. You can see behind me. I inherited a wicker shelf. They're in high demand, and whenever I see them on Marketplace or in an antique store, they go for a lot of money. So I inherited this from a family member. I'm very excited, and had to squeeze in a place for it in the apartment. Definitely running out of room, and you can't really walk by my couch very easily anymore, but it was a big wish list item, and I wasn't sure if I was ever gonna find one for a reasonable price, so now I don't have to worry about it. So I styled that up with all my plants and mushroom related things, books. That's been fun. I also found this little trivet, and it's shaped like a teapot. It says Bermuda on it. But I was thinking of popping out this tile and putting in a little cross stitch pattern, which I'll probably have to stitch over one because it's not that big. Like, that's my hand. It's not super big. But I've been looking up like tea related patterns on Etsy, and there's two by Mama Witch Cross Stitch. One is possums, and they have little teapots hanging from their tails. Or there's one of this little mole in his little house, and he's drinking tea in front of his fireplace. So one of those is gonna happen on this, I believe, someday. Then I have a couple other things. So I got this frame also. It's free. And it's nice and distressed and dusty. That'll be for a cross-stitch project, hopefully, if I ever work through my frame box. I don't know. It's more like a collection at this point. I also got this really cool bag. It's not vintage. I mean, the fabric could be, but it was like, it's some initiative, like a sewing circle was selling these like in an antique store booth. just to promote reusable bags. And it's like a velvety, like upholstery like texture. And it has leaves and it's 2 shades of green. So I've been bringing that along to different knitting group meetups and stuff like that. It's a project bag. I also found this really cool melt glass lamp on my birthday thrifting weekend. And that's in my bathroom now. I'm a kitchen lamp person also, but I didn't think I needed 2 in my kitchen, so we also have a lamp in the bathroom. It really sets the mood for like when you take a shower at night and you don't want to have the overhead light on. It's very cozy. So that happened, and I think that's it for thrifting. The only other thing I really have to talk about is I'm going to talk about a couple people I've been watching. The first is Melly Ellie Stitches. I've always loved her channel, and she's come back recently. She took a little bit of a break, and she's always so positive and happy, and I just love listening to her talk about her beautiful projects and her life stuff, and she always shares sort of an uplifting quote at the end of her videos, and I don't know, it's just relaxing to be in her presence. So I highly recommend her channel. The other channel that I recently found, I don't know how new they are, is the Bohemian Stitchery. I'll have to scroll across your name, I'm sorry. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But regardless, she is really close to 1,000 subscribers, so I hope we all go over and subscribe and get her past that milestone. She started 15 new things for Easter and goes through all of those, has a great variety of projects, lots of full coverage, and an awesome accent to boot. So yeah, go check out the Bohemian Stitchery. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks for joining me and listening to me talk at warp speed about my hobbies. I think in the coming month, I'm going to get my stitching bug back a little more. I already feel it coming with the incentive of stitching mushrooms and this new start tonight on my Carolyn Manning piece. Yeah. I look forward to talking to you again in a month, and really appreciate any comments that you leave me. Love talking to you, and I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you again hopefully towards the end of this month. Bye.